Hey everybody, Jason Andrew here, and welcome to the next live. And in today's video, I'm going to go through a really quick, deep question for a lot of people, and that is, did you buy too much house? Did you buy too much house? Get a bit excited? And if you do, then what can you do about it? And before I get into that, I'm going to go into quickly and just compare how did we go compared to 25 years ago? What were people doing in when they were starting out in the workforce 25 years ago, which was kind of like pretty much me, and what was the market like? Then we do some comparisons, and then I'm going to give you a bit of an option. I might even show you through what some people are actually doing right now with COVID, and they're actually considering a tree change or a sea change. And what I'll do now is I'll do the old, I'm going to share with you my screen, which is, here we go. Using a new system here, which is fantastic. Can't you see that these awesome things down the bottom there? Righto, guys. So the question for you is, did you buy too much house? And I'm going to go through, really when you think about it, there is so much pride in Australia in owning a house. It's such a common thing, and it's something that's not, it's the big Australian dream, like the American dream. It's we spend so much emphasis on it. The government chips in for people to buy their first home. There's a lot of, I guess, there's a lot of pressure from families to go buy a home, save up, get a job, buy a home. The dream home thing started way back, even back in the 50s. So this, what you see on the screen, is from the 1950s. And just after the war with the baby boomers, everybody just wanted to go out and buy houses in suburban land, and the urban sprawl started. And ever since then, there's just been this massive obsession with property and houses in Australia. And if it's not, you can just go down any urban sprawl throughout Australia and you see this sort of common scene. So people have moved from living in, I guess, urban jungles in the middle of, suburbs like Richmond and Collingwood in Melbourne, or in the Marrickville in Sydney, and moving out and spreading out into these urban sprawls, and then putting themselves into debt to live in the Australian dream. So I want to ask you whether you are currently in a situation where you might find yourself, you've taken this plunge and you are sitting, COVID has happened, and your income situation is not like what you would have liked it to be, and you're starting to reconsider things. But first, let's have a look and see whether things are actually as bad as they were, as they are compared to 25 years ago. Because a lot of people say it's a lot harder for people to get into the market these days. It's just not fair. So let's just have a look at some stats. And I went on to the ABS and I had a look at 1995. This here is the average weekly times earnings, is the average salary back in 1995. It's 33,000, just over 600 a week. This was the average house price, which was 30% of your salary back then. The average loan was only $95,000. And which was 35%. Now, the interesting thing was people were paying 24% of their salary on monthly home loan repayments. That was the interest rate back then, about 7.5%. So you can see there that, that looks quite good, doesn't it? I mean, imagine getting a home for only $111,000 and only a loan of 95 grand. But I guess the key thing is that the salaries back then were a lot less. Now, when we have a look and see what people are earning right now today, it's actually the average weekly earnings is $89,000. So this is the average across Australia. Your house price is almost $550,000, which is 16%. So it's come down in terms of percentage of what you earn. However, the loan's gone up. The loan itself, because the salaries have gone up, is not as much in terms of what you earn as a gross, but the monthly repayments have gone up a little bit but only 4%. So, 2,000. This is the average. Now, I do know that obviously for some people that is it's not really what you're aspiring to, $550,000 for a home, but it's the entry point and it's the average out there. So, if this is not you, and you have done something else, for example, you've gone out and you have bought too much house, then that's okay. It's not uncommon. Australia has got massive amounts of debt, and paying your mortgage is a massive stress, which is why 50% of Australians are actually under the pump stressed. Now, one of my goals in Fund Money and what we do in this page is to let people realize more things, help people to realize how they can live a life that they want to live, because I know that you came to this planet to do more than just to, go get a job and pay off a mortgage. There's more to life than that. However, we are consumed in this house pride in Australia that we feel that we need to go and buy a house. And if we don't, then to show off to our family and friends, to the point that it's actually detrimental where some people are overstretched. Now, there's a couple of things you can do. Now, the first one, if you've got mortgage payments, speak to your bank, because right now the interest rates have never been lower. So I'm not going to give any credit or financial advice. All I'm going to suggest is you speak to your bank or to a mortgage broker to try and find a good rate for you. And the other thing that you can do is just work on your prioritizing on your spending and exactly what you need to spend on in order to keep your house payments up. So if you get to the point where you're thinking, well, you know what, I love my house, but I love my lifestyle more. And you might think that's funny, but there's a lot of people out there who are so stressed because they're so busy, so stressed about trying to keep their house payments, but at the same time, they don't want to give up their life. So you just need to make a value judgment call on what's more important to you. If it's your house, then cut down on your lifestyle. If it's lifestyle, then think about what else you might be able to do with your home. Right now, I'm not going to comment on whether it's good timing to sell a house, but one of the things you might consider, and it's going to be a lot more accepted now, is you might consider a tree change. So right now, because in COVID, everybody's so used to working remotely and it is now very common, there's this great opportunity for you to consider maybe moving out into the country or to the sea and buying a house for less than what yours is currently worth, and having a loan that is much, much less than what you're trying to service at the moment. And the best way to do this right now is just think of it like this. Rather than think of it as going out to the country because you feel like you failed and you can't pay a mortgage, how about thinking of it as a great opportunity to go into have a better lifestyle? Because if it's lifestyle that you want, then why not think about that tree change? And if you can do that, you come from a much better mindset and different space, rather than from going from this feeling of lack and failure that you've got this mortgage that you couldn't handle and you had to sell the house. What about we decided it was a great idea for us to move to the country because it's a great lifestyle for the kids, and we look at this block that we've got here, and I can now sleep at night. That's probably something worth considering, especially seeing as right now there are lots more people doing it. You get articles like this one coming up. I'm going to just sort of quickly put this in front of you. This was in The Guardian. There's a massive COVID exodus sort of plan. They're saying, right, that's it. I'm going to call the real estate agent. You can get homes much cheaper in the countryside. So I think that's pretty well known. One of the things, just wanted to give you a few tips if you do think about that, is that it's not necessarily there's a few things that you need to bear in mind when you're moving into a community. And there's a great article here that was put up on Domain about a couple that went out back in 2016. And moving into a country town, it takes a long time for you to actually become a local. So don't just sort of go in there brandishing your city slicker ways, saying, I'm in here and I'm going to tell you how to do things. It takes generations to become to become a local in a country town. So the thing about that, though, is there's a lot more people moving out to country towns, and there's a lot of country towns starting to spread in urban spread. So, for example, in Ballarat, down in Victoria here, there's a lot more urban suburbs being built out to the fringes of Ballarat. So more people are moving out there, and there's more younger couples moving out into the countryside. So something to consider, guys. The other thing that you might want to think about is a few tips is go and try out different areas. Visit your local pub down there. There was a tip in this article down here on the ABC that go to a pub on 5 o'clock on a Friday afternoon and you get to meet some great locals and get some great stories and know where to live inside a country town. Also go in to check your internet connection. With NBN should be okay by now, but you just never know, especially if you're going to be working from home. This is really crucial. And maybe rent first. Maybe sell up, cash up, feel less stressed, rent first. see whether it's a good thing for you, see whether the kids fit into the school really well, and then you can decide on whether that's the right town or the suburb within the town that you want to. And also think about the future plans within that town that you move into, whether they're going to be developing more schools, whether they're going to be developing more housing outside. So look, it doesn't necessarily, when I say move to the country, it doesn't necessarily mean going and buying a 100-acre farm and living on the farm. There's really nice, beautiful suburbs inside country towns that you can move into and live in as well. So look, there's just a couple of really simple things for you to consider. So what we talked about today was really around just thinking around thinking about if you have bought too much house, it's okay. It's not it's no shame in terms of wanting to sell up and moving out into somewhere else where you can have a better lifestyle and you can sleep at night. And in terms of whether we are worse off than we were 25 years ago, it's not necessarily the case because, salaries have increased. So therefore, what that means for you is that, it really means that your life right now compared to what it was 25 years ago, you're not in a worse off position. In fact, it's because of the choices you made in your life that you are in right now. So I just wanted to bring that up there to hone in on the point that, a lot of people say that life's so bad at the moment, so hard, it's terrible because it's hard for us to get in and the mortgages are so high. Well, it's really not the case when you look at the figures. It was very similar 25 years ago. So when using that kind of thinking about your current situation where you are now, if you've overmortgaged, don't. Just sort of use the shift to the countryside as an empowering move because you're moving to better your lifestyle, not because things are going bad. Okay, guys? Hope that makes sense. Something to consider there. We've certainly thought about it a few times ourselves to moving into the countryside. Just it's a better life. For us, it's more about the schooling here in Melbourne. So that's why we choose to live in the city. But I can tell you, if it wasn't for that, and it would definitely be seriously on the card. So hope that was of value to you guys, and I will see you at the next one. Cheers.